I guess we're time to start. If somebody could turn off their, whatever the noise maker is. Okay, thank you. Well, today's a little different in terms of what I want to do. We don't have a big crowd, but that's okay because I want to get feedback and ideas from people. Because, when I did my first Armchair Travel, I said, oh, we'll do this for 6 weeks and then everything will be back to normal. Well, that was what, 2.5 years ago almost. And so we're living in still a strange situation where I think we're back on the road. People are traveling. Some of you have traveled with us or have plans to do that soon or doing travel on your own. At first during COVID, there was no travel. Now, if you read the news, there's too much travel. We have all these stories of the continuing staff challenges that the hospitality and travel industry is experiencing. Hundreds, thousands of airplane flights being canceled and things like that. So we continue to have issues that we have to deal with, but we're hitting the road again anyway. Some of it's Laura's with us. We had a great trip to Italy in May. We crossed our fingers, paid our money, got on the airplane, and everything went very well. And so I think that gave us a bit of renewed confidence that that travel could be back. Have to take precautions, and there's some uncertainties, but still it's possible to do that and to kind of get back into our travel frame, but not for everybody, and maybe not as much or as far as we've been doing before. So there's still a role for Armchair Travel when we can either reminisce or dream of other travel experiences. But along with the big trips that I like to plan and to take, for those of you who were on when Victoria was here just a few minutes ago, we also like to look at closer in travel opportunities, ones that are easier, less expensive. And so I want to begin today for just a few minutes running through a couple of ideas that we have for closer travel. And I'm going to pause it after that, and I'll do a short kind of a screen share and then come back and see if we can get some ideas from you folks on this. So let me see if I can get my screen share up here. Okay, here we are. So still Armchair Travel, but it's time to start doing travel, go from Armchair Travel to travel planning. We'll be on the road again. We'll be leaving on that jet plane. So we're looking at close-in places. We've done twice now holiday trips in the region. We went to Asheville right before, I guess that was right before COVID. And then this past year, some of you went with us to Charleston. And it's kind of fun to take a 2 or 3 day trip, a bus trip relatively close by. Do it in early December when you have the places are decked out for the holidays, but it's not right at Christmas or Thanksgiving. And so one thought would be to go to Savannah. Now we've all been to Savannah, but it might be fun to go at Christmas time, to go as a group, do some of the traditional things, but go down to one or more of the islands, maybe take a coastal a day cruise on the up the bay or the harbor there. So that's one thought that I'd like for you to think about. Now another one that I don't have the picture here, another idea that someone floated was to go down to New Orleans at Christmas. The weather should be good. There's some new things in New Orleans, the Jewish Museum, and there's the World War II Museum and some other relatively new sites to see there, along with all the traditional ones. So that would be another possibility for a regional holiday trip. Another would be to go up to Washington, Philadelphia area. So that's a little farther, but close in, Savannah would be one we could do, just driving like we did to Charleston and to Asheville. Another idea would be to do a little longer trip. This would be a maybe 5 or 6 day trip, but one still that's a driving range would be to go up to Kentucky. Kentucky in the springtime should be great. It's a beautiful part of the country. Go up to Louisville where you have the Ohio River, day trip on the river, the horse racing, and in Louisville and Kentucky. We'd go to both of those places, take in a horse race if we could schedule it right. As also the Bourbon Trail, whether or not you're a bourbon drinker, nothing wrong with going out in the countryside and see how the bourbon is made and why it's featured in Kentucky. So that would be another, I think that would make a nice April or May trip from Atlanta. And it wouldn't be too hard, but it's to an area that probably a lot of us haven't spent time there. And so contrasted with Savannah, it might be a newer kind of place. We could even do Arkansas. I've said that before, that if you might, some of you might remember, Arkansas is one of 3 states that I've never been to. There's a Crystal Bridges Museum, which is quite famous, and the people who have been there say it's really great. There's the Ozarks, there's Little Rock. It's would probably be a plane trip, but it's a relatively short direct flight from Atlanta to Little Rock. Could do 4 or 5 days in Arkansas. That would be another kind of springtime trip we could do in May or June. What about some shorter trips? I see that Victoria North will be talking about this, and she has some travel logs on for later today through the center website. Some of you know George Weeder. He was just back from Greenville. I think they went to a wedding or something. He said it's just great that Greenville, we drive past Greenville anytime you go up 85. I've never once thought about stopping in Greenville. But it now is rated as one of the great middle-sized, smaller cities to visit in the country. And he was saying it was just great. They have a hotel right down by the river. They have all kinds of waterfront kinds of things to do. Excuse me. And that's very easy to get to from here, maybe 1 or 2 nights there with a bus ride. And on the right is Chattanooga. Again, I've been through Chattanooga dozens of times, or past Chattanooga on the way up 75, but never stopped. And it also has a nice restored waterfront. So these would be some quite close places. We could do 2 nights, a leisurely kind of trip up to Greenville, Chattanooga. And there might be some other places like that in the region. So I'm going to pause it right now, or pause my screen share to see what you folks think. What would be a good, again, thinking about close places or holiday places to visit. Which of these or others would be appealing to you, or you think would be appealing to the group? Can they unmute themselves?
Yeah, I did it. Okay, sorry.
Great.
I would love to go back to Savannah.
Yeah.
Because it's in the islands are gorgeous. But Savannah is a pretty town.
Yeah. And maybe one of those places that people don't mind going back to.
Yeah, yeah, I've been, more than once, but it's nice. And I would go to almost all those places. I mean, they're I think Kentucky would be fun. And I would love to go to Arkansas to see the Crystal Bridges Museum sometime. That's a longer trip, but
yeah, it would be a flying trip. It'd be a little different than the others, but still, a short flight, and maybe 4 or 5 days, something like that.
Yeah.
George, I would love Savannah if we can include the Cumberland Island.
Oh, Cumberland Island, yeah.
Right. And New Orleans and Greenville would be great.
Okay. You think New Orleans would be good at the holidays?
Why not?
Early December, better than July anyway.
Absolutely. Yes.
George, Bud and I had been to Greenville a couple of times, and it's a wonderful city to visit.
It's a good place to visit. Yeah. You stay right. What is there?
Yes, we stayed down in a hotel near the water
on the river.
Yeah. And there's Furman University. You can actually walk from downtown to Furman.
Oh, really? Wow.
Wonderful walking trail.
Well, that's good.
George?
Yeah.
If you go to Kentucky, I strongly recommend you try to put Berea College on the.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I
It's
thought
an
that,
amazing institution.
yeah, I
Yes.
thought that that could be a good place. Only it's a relatively long day trip, but I thought maybe we could stop at Berea on the way or on the way back. It's probably about half the way or something from here, maybe a little more than half the way, but it's kind of along the way.
They have a hotel that's run by the students.
We should go there.
So some people may not, Berea is a college that I guess is for maybe 100 years or more. It's been known as a liberal arts college, but based on a co-op system. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Where the students run everything or do everything, the farm and everything is quite well known. Yeah, that's a good idea.
George, this is Tim. I just
Yeah.
came in, but on Berea, it is actually more than 100 years old. It was one of the first 2 co-ed colleges, but it is indeed a cooperative type thing, but mainly for the mountain folks in that area. And it's
Yeah.
very nice.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
And
Good.
may I throw in one other thing? I just
Yeah, please.
heard you say Chattanooga when I came in, and we did visit Chattanooga a long time ago, and they have a very excellent aquarium.
Yes.
It's a freshwater aquarium.
Oh, okay.
It's very
Very
good.
remarkable and very, very nicely done. And it's been a while since we've been there. So, but I would commend it if you go up there.
Okay. So I think for a place like Greenville or Chattanooga, maybe we might go for 2 nights, drive up in the morning, have a kind of leisurely afternoon, then 1 full day for touring and doing things the second day and nice dinner out or something and come back.
Oh,
on-
something like that. Now, when you're in Chattanooga, you can also go across into Georgia onto Lookout Mountain.
Lookout Mountain, yeah.
And there's interesting things like a waterfall that's inside the mountain,
Okay.
and you can walk to, and it's quite impressive.
And that's where Rock City is, right?
Yeah, I know. You
Yes.
skip that, but
I'm looking out my
Rock
window.
City.
Jill will laugh. Do you folks remember in the old days, you drive through the countryside and all the barns would be painted by the
Yes.
people in Rock City and they would paint See Rock City.
Rock City.
So I'm looking out my backyard. We have a birdhouse that's in the shape of a barn that's got See Rock City. So every time I walk out my back door, I see the ad for Rock City.
I remember that when we first came to Georgia, seeing these signs.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Any other suggestions or comments on the close by ones? Okay, well, this is good information. Thank you. I think we'll for sure be thinking about Savannah maybe for the first or second week in December, and based on what people are saying, see if we can get some new stuff there too. So out to the islands, to Cumberland and one of the other islands. Jill,
Yeah,
what's the
Cumberland.
island? Jill, what's the island that they would take the children to?
I know Cumberland is, you have to get
What's
on the
one that
ferry.
has the traditional culture? What was it?
Asaba.
Asaba.
Yeah, Asaba.
Is the other one, yeah.
That is
Wow.
wonderful. I stayed in Asaba one time, a long
Yeah.
time ago.
So there's a lot of possibilities down there that would kind of augment the traditional things that we probably want to do again too. Okay, well, let me go back to so these are all kind of not speculative, but in what I would consider the thinking, the early planning stages. But I've got a couple that I want to share with you that are actually in the almost a sign up phase. Let me get back to my screen share and get to that.
George, can I ask a question?
Sure.
I called you the other day. Are there any slots left for the England trip?
Not right now, there aren't.
Do you have a waiting list?
We do. If you could put that in the chat box,
Okay.
I'll make sure you're on it. Okay, so this we said the short trips we looked at Arkansas, Kentucky. We added a couple, but what are we doing for sure next year in terms of the big trips? Take longer planning and budgeting and everything. So we're looking at, actually, Jill and I are excited. We've been wanting to go to Alaska for years, and this has kind of moved itself up to the to the top of our list. So next June 14th, 24th, this next year, 2023, we've signed up for what's called a cruise tour to Alaska. And I want to run through the kind of specifics here, but if you see on the map here, Alaska, as we know, has that strip along here that borders Canada, or part of it all borders Canada, and then the main part of the state is up here. But in terms of cruising, the Inside Passage and up from down around either Seattle or Vancouver up to Whittier and Anchorage is where the cruises concentrate because of the beauty and the kind of unique terrain and culture along the coast. And so the first part of our tour will be we'll start in Vancouver. The ship departs from Vancouver, but we'll probably go a couple of days early so that we can take in Vancouver, maybe even go up to Whistler for a day, something like that. Don't have the particulars on Vancouver yet, but we'll be looking to have a couple of days before the cruise starts in Vancouver itself. And then we join the Holland America line. The New Amsterdam is the name of the ship. It's one of their newer ships. It's not a huge ship. It's maybe 2,000, 2,200 people, but it has very good rating. We've been on the Holland America before. This is a newer ship, and we think it'll be a very nice ship. And Holland America for years has specialized in its Alaska program. And so what we'll be doing is called their Glacier Discovery Cruise. It's a picture of the ship in Alaska. You see it starts down here in Vancouver, go on the inside, what's called the Inside Passage, because it comes up in between Victoria Island, Vancouver Island, and the mainland, and then up and make stops all along the way here. So you begin with cruising the Inside Passage. And some of us have been on cruises to Norway on the fjords and Chile along the fjords. And I think this is just where cruising and being on a cruise ship really maximizes the value, because you're right there in a relaxed setting, but you have just an amazing day or two where you're very close to the glaciers. This commentary that goes on at different times during the day. So it's very comfortable, but also quite up close to the glaciers. And you really get a sense for what's going on, both in terms of the millennia that these glaciers have formed, but also what's happening to them, currently. So you begin with a cruising the Inside Passage. Then the first stop is Ketchikan. And each of these, what intrigues me about this particular cruise is that the reality is the Inside Passage stops is a very heavily traveled cruise route. Okay, so you might think of that as a negative, but there's a positive to that. It means that at each of these stops, each of these ports of call is very highly developed in terms of the offerings, the programs and options that it provides people from cruises. So I think this will be one cruise where I'm going to not look at my credit card till I get home and take some of the more exotic shore excursions where we can get out in the Zodiacs and go right up to the glaciers. There's also at these stops a lot of emphasis on the Native American art, the Eskimos, the different artwork and the culture. So you get a nice combination of introduction to the people and the culture, along with the opportunities in a very modern way to get up close to the terrain. So that's me and Jill in the front of the boat, right, Jill? Then the next stop is Juneau, which is a small town. They're all small. It's the capital of Alaska. But again, there's whale watching there. All these you can also just get off and enjoy walking around the town. Some people have been to Alaska before. So if you've done the exotic stuff, you can walk the town. If you walk the town now, you can do the exotic. But so there'd be a day there, and then Skagway. Here, I might even dig deep in my pocket and do one of these helicopter trips. I've you know, when I heard people years ago, with a friend that went to Alaska and said, oh, we went on a short excursion. We went on a helicopter right up to the top of the glacier. And I thought, well, that's just over the top. Why would you do that? Well, I think I might want to do that. But there's kayaking, there's some Skagway, there's also a train you can go on. So there's just a lot of things available for tourists that I think makes this a wonderful cruise opportunity, that you again can stay in the town and just enjoy being in an old Alaska frontier town, and then back on the ship, or you can do something pretty pretty exotic, going a little more into the interior, into the mountains, or to the glacier. And then I didn't even know there was a national park. It's called Glacier Bay National Park. Not all the ships go there, but it looks like it's just spectacular. This would be another day of cruising where you go right up to these glaciers that have worked their way down to the shoreline, and in some cases they're breaking off into the sea. Then another one is called the College Fyord, where you go through the fjord again, another spectacular day. So you get on this week-long cruise, they're really 3 days, the Inside Passage Day, what was this one? The Glacier Bay National Park and the College Fyord. You get 3 days where you're really at sea, but it's not in the open sea like on a big ocean voyage. It's going along the coastline or into the fjords of Alaska. So a great way to get up close and get an understanding as well of what's going on in terms of the Arctic areas of the world without having to go all the way to Antarctica. But then what Holland America and some of the other cruises do, they came to recognize a while back that, well, people like the cruises, but they would also like to see more of Alaska. And so what Holland America does, along with some of the other cruise lines, they have their own tourist facilities at Denali National Park. And so what we'll do is, after the 7-day cruise, we'll go right from the ship to a train, the dome train that will take us up to Denali, used to be Mount McKinley, now it's Denali National Park. And Holland America has its own resort right at the entrance, right outside, but right at the entrance of the national park. And we'll actually stay 3 days there, 7 nights on the ship, and then 3 nights in the Denali Park Lodge. And so you get there in the afternoon, and then the next day is a full day. It's like a 7-hour tour through the park. It's called the Tundra Wilderness Tour. And hopefully we see some bears at a distance, because these aren't the little black bears. I mean, the little black bears in the Smokies are 300 pounds, but these are the big brown bears that you don't want to get close to, I'm told. But it should be a spectacular day. And again, this is one of those places like that, you hope for a nice clear day like this, but they tend to be, I find these kind of places to be spectacular regardless of the weather, because if it's misty and raining, then you get a whole different perspective on the grandeur of the wilderness area. So there'll be a full day. And so here, in addition to the cruise along the coastline, then now you're right in the middle, in the interior, with the great mountain that we grew up knowing as Mount McKinley and Denali. And then the final night is back by bus from Denali back to Anchorage, overnight in Anchorage, and then flight home, from there. So we've picked this particular route because it gives an opportunity for Vancouver. It has the classic kind of 7-day Alaska cruise with a lot of opportunities at wherever you stop. And then plus the 3 nights in Denali and the 1 night in Anchorage, and all of that is all woven together. So when you put your bags out in the morning of the last morning of the cruise, then the bags will be at the hotel in Denali when you get there at the end of the day. So it should make it an easy and convenient way to travel. Delta periodically has nonstop flights to Anchorage and Vancouver. We'll have to see when we get, you have to wait till you're within 11 months of the travel to know what the exact schedule is. But if we can't get the direct stop, we can get a one-stop flight to Vancouver and a one-stop flight back. So it makes it convenient. So the full, and we'll be announcing this soon. Basically, folks are getting the first look at it. We'll be announcing it soon, but it's 11 night with a balcony cabin. It's $32.84, and going down from there to other categories on a per person shared basis, and that includes the 7 nights on the ship, the 3 nights in Denali, and the 1 night in Anchorage. And then obviously, since it ends in Anchorage, if anybody wanted to stay longer in Alaska and wanted to do something else, then you simply delay your return accordingly. So that's our first big one for next year. We might have some others like we're talking about. So we might do a springtime to the region, to Arkansas, to Kentucky, something like that, but then early June. Oh, and in terms of the day, we picked early June for several reasons. I've always wanted to go in the spring rather than the fall, to get, maybe the maximum view of what's left of the winter. It'd be nice to be there in the winter, but maybe things get closed down. And so going relatively early in the season, you still have a lot of chance to see the snow and all in its full splendor. But it's before the middle of the season, which gets maybe more mosquito-y and more tourist. So we think going the first week in June is kind of an ideal time to go. So be looking for more detailed information of that to come out just in the next couple of weeks. Okay, so something in the winter, something in the spring, big trip to Alaska in June, and then flipping over to the fall, Ireland. So we're looking at doing in the first week in October, a trip to Ireland. And this is, let me back up here. Those of us who went to Italy, I think Laura is on to agree that we were very satisfied with the Grand Circle travel program. It's the first that we've done with them. Some of you have done Grand Circle travel before. We did a cruise with them, a river cruise with them, but found the Italy trip to be very well managed, good hotels, good tours. And so what we've signed up for now is for Ireland. It's called their Ireland in Depth program is the name of the tour that we'll be doing first week in October with Grand Circle. Their normal site, one of the things that was nice about what we did in Italy was that there was a small group, just 22. They have a capacity on these programs for 42 people. We were lucky they're just 22, but I've negotiated with them so that in our case, on this one in Ireland, there'll be a maximum of 34. Hopefully that'll be our group. Well, that doesn't matter if other people sign up, as we found in Italy, they quickly become part of the group. But one of the things that we have done on that is we've got it restricted to a maximum of 34, which you think would be a good size for this. Now the map down here is not, I couldn't get the map for some reason, the exact map from the Grand Circle. So this is not the exact route, but it's a basic route. So here's the island of Ireland. As you know, Northern Ireland, right along here, is part of the United Kingdom. It's part of Britain, and the rest of the Republic of Ireland down here. So we'll be doing the southern part. We won't be going out, again, if people want to do something before or after, they do have some pre and post kind of opportunities, go to Northern Ireland. In Northern Ireland, and I don't say anything here about Northern Ireland. So in Northern Ireland, you go to Belfast is a fascinating place, fascinating city. It's where the Titanic was built. There's a great, relatively new Titanic museum. You go from Belfast up to the Causeway Coast, a very intriguing coast. It's right across from Scotland, and then over to Derry or Londonderry, depending on which side of the divide you're on. So there are interesting things in Northern Ireland, and people can go there. I think they have a pre-trip a pre-tour option in Northern Ireland. But ours would be starting in Dublin and then going down along the coast all the way around, ending up in Galway.
Excuse me, how
Yeah.
about Northwest Ireland, Donegal?
So we will go, how far up is Donegal?
It's way up there.
Up here?
Uh-huh.
How far? All the way up here? Make a note, we'll check. We won't, the tour won't be going up that far, but the pre one might, I'm not sure. So this is the schedule. I'll go through right now, just a little more. If you just see the map real quickly, we'll be working our way around this way. So the first 3 nights are in Dublin. And we'll stay at a centrally located hotel. There'll be tours, but also plenty of time to explore, you know, on our own. What I don't show here, one thing that I'm interested in, they have the apparently a quite good Guinness tours where the stout beer from Ireland is so famous, and they have a tour there that's quite interesting apparently. But we'll do some touring and have plenty of time there, and then on to Kilkenny, stop at the Waterford Crystal Factory there, go to the castle, and 2 nights there. So 3 nights is not quite as compact as our Italy trip was. Where in Italy, we were 7 nights in one place and 7 nights in the other, and 2 in Rome. But here there's either 2 or 3 nights each place. 3 nights in Dublin, then 2 nights in Kilkenny, and then in Cork, 2 nights down in the southern tip, and then over to Killarney, where it take a whole day doing what's called the Ring of Kerry. We'll go all the way around on a full day bus tour all the way around here. I've not been to this part of Ireland. I've been to Ireland and to Northern Ireland, but not down to the southern part. So really looking forward to this. This is supposed to be spectacular, coming around the coastline there and to the famous Blarney Castle. So 3 nights there, so that'd be nice. Along the way, one of the things that's nice with Grand Circle, they have some kind of special activities. We'll go to a sheep farm and see the dogs. That's Jill and I really enjoy whenever we can to see how the sheep are raised and how the dogs will herd the sheep. So we'll visit a sheep farm. There'll be a chance to go to the National Folk Theater for an traditional Irish Celtic presentation. There'll be an evening with a local family where 4 or 6 people go together and share a meal with a local family, and some other visits like that. So one of the great things in the opportunities in a country like Ireland or England, where the language is not much of a barrier, is to be able to get to meet people. And to get together with people. I think in Italy, even with the fact that it's a different language, we enjoyed the different excursions, lemon farm to the evening in a home, to the olive farm, different visits that really get you a little closer to the people and the culture. We'll go by the Cliffs of Moher, which are up on the west coast as well. And then we'll end with 3 nights in Galway. And Galway is closer to Shannon Airport than Dublin. And so we'll have to see on coming home. So Shannon will be closer, but then it's not a direct flight from Shannon to Atlanta anymore.
Yeah.
So possibly we'll go back to Dublin. But again, we can work through that later on. So again, the dates for the, excuse me, for Ireland is October 7th for 2 weeks, and it's June for Alaska. Now, looking, if anybody knows me, know that my mind's always thinking about other possible trips. So while we have the some shorter domestic ones that we're looking at, regional ones, and then the 2 big ones in June and October. Others that we're looking towards in the next couple of years, maybe not necessarily next year. So we're doing, some of you are coming with us to England this year, to Ireland next year, that leaves Scotland. And so hoping that in 2024, we would do a Scottish Highlands tour of some kind. shoot, for those who went to Italy, I know you're thinking, gee, I like to go back to Italy. Well, why not Sicily? And I actually found that the Grand Circle has one that's Sicily and Malta. I think that would be fantastic to go to Sicily and then Malta, which is a very unique little island with great interesting history, just in that same region, just south of Sicily. We have our canceled Western Canada trip. We've still not gotten back on the schedule yet. France, the tour in France that I'm interested in doing would be to spend a couple days in Paris and then go down to Normandy and then over to Loire Valley and back to Paris. So you could do a nice triangular trip there.
Yeah.
Some kind of rail adventure. One is to go to Switzerland. I don't know if people have been to Switzerland recently. I've been to Switzerland, 4 decades, I guess now. But in Switzerland, they have some great alpine rail trips you can do. The one I want to do goes from Switzerland straight down through the Alps to Italy. And so there might be something like that. And we had to, some of you know, we had to cancel our Queen Mary 2 transatlantic last year. I'm thinking on that, what might be fun, it'll look kind of retro, but to go to New York, go to Manhattan for 3 nights and then get on the Queen Mary, go to Southampton and then 3 nights in style in London, something like that. Pretend like we're rich folks in the 1920s or something, I don't know. But at some point I want to do a transatlantic on the Queen Mary too. And you see here the US, we already talked about that. Or possible, there's different river cruises in Mississippi, but there's also the one out west that goes from Spokane to Portland or back, that goes around the Snake River and the Columbia River. Somehow I think that might be more interesting than the Mississippi. I don't know. We talked about Arkansas. Another idea that we've had is the Western National Parks, to fly out to Phoenix and back from Las Vegas and doing the various parks that connect in between there. And then there are the return visits. Santa Fe, Hudson River Valley are the ones we hear people talk about the most as ones that either they missed or would like to do a return to. So those, I think in terms of repeats, probably the one that Santa Fe and Hudson River Valley would be the ones that we would get to first. So anyway, lots of ideas. I should have started out by saying that we had talked about Panama and ended up canceling that because basically there wasn't much interest in it. And so rather than having that dangle along with the few people that were interested, we canceled or postponed that. But if you got the information about Panama, then you'll for sure get the information coming up about these others. If you didn't get information about Panama, then put your email in the chat box or shoot me an email from this and we'll make sure that you get on the list going forward. So it's george@gtbtravel.com. That'll get you into the loop with more stuff. Okay. So that's where we are. Oh, a bunch of people joined us. Hello, everybody. Let me get back out here. I can see who's here. Okay, good. We've got a full screen of folks. So I'm going to pause here. I want to hear people's responses, your ideas, response to our ideas, and then more of your own. So we've got some of your ideas already that Jill's taking note of: Arkansas, Savannah, Kentucky, and make sure we get Berea College in there. So information like this is really helpful to us. So fire away.
Glacier National Park is fantastic.
So what?
Glacier National Park.
Oh yes. So I've always thought it'd be fun to go by train. I've talked about this before. There's the Empire Builder train that goes from Chicago to Portland, but then it stops at Glacier National Park. So you can also do part of it. You go to Glacier National Park, spend some time there, and then take the train the rest of the way to Portland or Seattle, going through the Rockies. And then Glacier National Park is just south of Canadian border. You get up to Banff and Lake Louise and Jasper, all up that area too. So that might be too much to try to combine all of that, but it is interesting part of North America all the way. If you think about, well, all the way down to the Rockies and up there.
I lived 2 years in Glacier National Park area.
What were you at the park?
For me,
What were you doing?
my husband was in the Air Force, and it was a radar site.
Oh, wow.
On the Canadian border.
Wow. Was that fun or
Well,
isolated?
I'm from New Orleans. It was a cultural shock.
I guess. Wow. But worth a visit, you think, huh?
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It's beautiful country.
Yeah. Yeah, and that, something to be said, I mentioned like, we could do the train in Glacier National Park and Banff and all that. There's something to be said just by going to one place. You could go and spend, 4 or 5 days just there, get settled in and really take your time to see all that it has to offer.
But if you go there, you got to go like June or July because there's
Yeah.
still plenty of snow.
Yes. Oh, so it's good to go that time of year. Yeah. Yeah. I guess the glaciers are melting, aren't they?
Yes.
So we need to
Yeah,
go.
the Going to the Sun Road in Glacier is still closed due to snow.
Oh, you right now?
Yes,
Oh, really? Wow.
yes. That was on the news last night.
I guess they get all that. Was that all that same moisture that flooded Yellowstone, maybe?
Yes, it did snow in Glacier.
Yeah. Okay.
George, what about the other coast? How about Boston? Up into
Well,
Maine?
talk to me about the Northeast. What would be so we've been to, Maine. Maine would be interesting.
But from Boston up to Bal Harbor,
Yeah.
something like that, Arcadia National Park.
Yes,
That's beautiful,
it
Acadia.
is. I've been there.
Me
Katie.
too.
That's true. Now, where's Rhode Island? Is Rhode Island along there?
Rhode Island is south.
South.
Yeah,
Uh,
Connecticut and Rhode Islanders are south of Boston.
That's south of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go down to Newport.
That's what I was thinking, Newport.
Yeah,
So having been, up the Hudson River with all the big mansions and Biltmore with that big mansion, that all those folks that were building mansions there.
Well, they built them at Newport also.
Newport was where it started, I think, or that's what, it was interesting when George Vanderbilt fell in love with the Smokies and decided to do his big house, Biltmore, in Asheville. It was all his siblings and cousins and colleagues were in Newport or Hudson Valley, but he came down here.
You like
Who
this
else has an
better.
idea or response? Come on, folks.
talking to us.
I'm talking to you.
No, I have a national park pass, and so I haven't been to many of them. I'd like to go to anything like Grand Tetons or Joshua's, any of those out there.
So Jill goes out every summer to Grand Tetons, go horseback riding for a week.
No.
Well, that's what she does, but what about us? We don't know.
Yeah, it's
I've done
beautiful.
it once, and that was a week was enough for me on a horse.
George, is the Slovenia, Croatia idea off the table because of Ukraine?
No, it really isn't. I should have put that on along with Sicily and Malta. You go around the other side of it's interesting on that. I keep looking for, there's a couple things. I keep looking for cruises. I go back and forth in my mind between looking for a good land tour there. If you have a advantage of a land tour is that you include Slovenia, which isn't on the cruises. The cruises are convenient, but they start in Venice. Venice has gotten awfully crowded.
It doesn't go into Venice anymore.
The cruises?
No.
they're starting to limit them. Are they limiting them after?
Going to Trieste,
Oh, wow. Well, that's good for Venice.
right.
And so it'd be interesting to see what, but no, I think along that coast there from Slovenia around all the way down to, well, to Montenegro actually would be
Stick
great.
with land tours. They're so much better than a cruise.
So I wonder what months could you do Croatia?
I don't know.
I wonder how early or late in the year. To stay away from the summer, but that we'll put that one down. No, I should have had that on there because that is on my that I've been to Slovenia, I've been to the Danube side of Croatia, but I've not been down the Dalmatian coast.
And I love Grand Circle. If we could do Grand Circle again, they are so good.
Okay, yeah, so I'm not sure they have a land thing down there, but I'll look and see. But I also have a friend who's the travel agent in Slovakia, and he could do one for us going down there too.
Hi.
Yeah.
Getting back to the good old USA, I've never been up to Montana, South Dakota, any of those. I'd love to go there.
Yeah. Yeah, we did the South Dakota a few years ago, and it was great. We went up to the Black Hills.
Oh, yeah.
And well,
No.
it'd be interesting to see what happens in Yellowstone. I've never been to Yellowstone, but there are several different kind of routes you can do
Yeah.
to take in those. So there are some tours that will go to South Dakota and then over to Montana and take in the Mount Rushmore area and the Black Hills, and then all the way over to Yellowstone.
Well, let's do that.
So that would be a good one. And anybody interested in trains along the way? But you know, problem is in America doesn't have such good
Yeah, we don't have great trains in this country, but I do like train travel.
yeah.
The Great Northern's fun to ride from Chicago to Glacier.
Yeah,
A beautiful trip.
Yeah, up there, and that would get me into North Dakota.
yeah.
Tim's home state, his first home state, right?
Just for 2 years.
So I wonder what it'd be like to take that train in the winter
That would be
from
fun.
Chicago to Seattle.
Bleak.
It'd be bleak, but it would be different. Well, you
It
know.
would be very different.
What's
And
the name of
probably
that
lower
train?
price.
Is that train called Great Northern?
It's
Yes.
called the actual it's called the Empire Builder is the route.
Mhm.
Empire Builders?
Empire Builder is it's a train the Amtrak train that goes between Chicago and Portland.
Yeah, they call it the Great Northern
It
now.
may be the Great Northern Route, but the actual Amtrak train, I think, is called Empire. Anyway, it goes from Chicago up to Minneapolis, and then if you think of the country, you go from Chicago, Minneapolis, and then boom, right along the northern coast, you know, south of the Canadian border. You know, the other is the Canadian trains, which are great. And there's some people always say, why don't we go on the Rocky Mountaineer? It's quite expensive.
Yeah.
But there are ways you can go on the regular. So the Rocky Mountaineer is kind of the tourist version, and it's very well done. People really enjoy it, but it's not inexpensive. But then the regular Canadian train goes across, and you can also do that too. And you know, I've you know, across the prairie, whether it's Manitoba or North Dakota is I guess it's interesting, but bleak.
It is bleak. I traveled across Canada on Canadian National
Okay.
decades ago, and I thought if I saw another tree going through Ontario,
Yeah.
and then when you got to the plains, it's like, oh, okay.
It's just on and on. But
I was on my way to Vancouver, but it took 3-4 days.
Yeah, but then there's you know, the better part of 2 days actually going through the mountains once you get past the plains, which can be can be spectacular for trains because they go right through the mountains, literally on that. So that can be interesting too. Well, thank you everybody for your ideas. Be on the lookout for for some specifics on these. Starting with the Alaska and the Ireland, but then coming before too long, we'll also have Savannah or something for the holidays this year as well. And again, we have to recognize as we travel that it may not quite be like it was in 2019, 2018. That the schedules are going to be a little screwy, the service is going to be a little up and down, but still, it's a great way to get out and learn about the world and supplement our armchair travel. So I've still got a bunch of books I'm reading. Jill's always coming up with TV things for us to watch, that link in with where we're going. We're going to Iceland in next month almost.
Oh, I'd love to go to Iceland.
And we're taking the cruise with a bunch of folks from Iceland to Boston, stopping in Greenland. And Jill found this TV series. It's a fictional thing about Denmark's control over Greenland and looking for oil and all kinds of political intrigue. So
is it too late to go to Iceland, to sign up for Iceland?
I'm afraid the cruise ship is full, I'm afraid.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, so we're in September, we can report back on Iceland. But
And George, I've made a note of all the comments in the chat box.
okay, great, thank you. Okay,
Yeah.
oh, good. Oh, I didn't see them. Okay, good.
Jill, when would be the next time to go to Iceland?
I don't know. What do you think, George? The next time to go to Iceland?
Well, I don't think we would be doing it as a group, but there's an increasing array of both tours and cruise opportunities linking to Iceland. So I think in the last 10 or 15, for decades, Iceland was just a place you had to stop, between North America and Europe. But in recent decades, it's become a destination too. And the cruises do it, but they're also interesting tours. And if some people want to go in the winter when they can see the Northern Lights even. And so it's it's a place that has become relatively easier to get to, and and so there's some good travel opportunities.
Yeah. George, are there any immediate trips that one could sign up for?
Well, the next one that's going to be signing up from us will be the Alaska and the Ireland ones for next year. The Savannah one will be the closest, I think, in terms of date, but we're not quite ready to sign that up yet.
What month would that be, you think?
That would be in December.
Oh, okay, in
In
December.
early December. And then we're looking at maybe Arkansas or Kentucky next April or May. And so I think we'll probably have a couple of regional ones, before the big one to Alaska.
I've been to Alaska and done that cruise, and
Okay.
I've been to Ireland too and gone to those places.
Let me see. Well, we'll have to get you on one of the other ones.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, someone put Sicily was at the top of their list.
Oh, that's me too.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun. And Grand Circle has a really good Sicily Malta one. We're looking at maybe that for the spring of 2024. It seems like a long way away, but it'll be here.
Sure does.
And so March or April of 2024, Sicily and Malta. So that's one people can look forward to as well. Okay, well, we're just about out of time. Thank you all. And if you have more comments or suggestions, just shoot us an email and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Bye, George. Bye, Jill. Bye, Tim.
Bye.
Hi, George.
I'm just hanging out. Yeah, there's nothing says that you get affected by yourself. You heard about that? Don't mind us.